Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show you guys how to make your own wire-wrapped Celtic gemstone pendant. I don't know, I'm not really good at coming up with names for things. I'm going to show you how to make this, and it's a very beginner-friendly project that I feel like gives you a lot of room to build and expand with your own creativity. We're using a pre-made Celtic knot charm. There will be links to all the materials down in the video description below, as well as these little like 10 by 14 or 15, they're non-calibrated cabochons, which means the bag that I purchased of them, none of them are exactly the same size. So they're great for wire wrapping, but not exactly perfect for putting into like pre-calibrated gemstone settings. But they're just some really nice like C or B grade amethyst. And I want to mount it in the center of the Celtic knot. Now, you can do this without any use of adhesives, but you're going to have a pretty hard time because especially with the smaller stones, or I don't know, you might do it just perfectly easily. I had a really hard time. So what I did is I went through with a DevCon 2-part epoxy, but you could use E6000 would work great for this. You could use super glue. I mean, anything that you have on hand that dries clear and dries quickly. That way you can just kind of get it done. So here I have 2 pieces that I have gone ahead and used that glue on the back. And the way that I did that was I just applied a bit of the glue onto the cabochon and then from behind smooshed on the metal piece, and then using the 2-part epoxy because it has about a 5-minute pot time, I put a little bit more on, and then with a gloved thumb just kind of pressed it a little bit to really get it into all those little spaces. And so this is holding it on there. Well, that's not what I meant to do. This is holding it on there really well, like it's not coming off. So, and it actually, yeah, it held up. It's sitting there on the floor just fine. So you could just leave it like this too and be like, hooray, finished jewelry. But I don't know, I like to try to hide the glue a little bit, so I thought by going through and wire wrapping it, it would give it a little bit more of a handmade look and feel, a little bit more stability for if ever the glue does fall through on us. So I'm using about 15 inches of 26 gauge Parawire. I really love their products. Any of y'all who've watched any of my other videos know I just, all day long, I'll say good things about Parawire, because I've only found good things to say about them. I've been using their products for probably 10 years now, and I'm a very happy customer. So you could use silver filled if you like, but as far as if it's a beginner project for you or if it's your first time, the silver plated silver is a copper core that's been silver plated and then covered with their enameling. That way it's not going to tarnish or irritate you if you've metal allergies. You could also use a 24 gauge or a 28 gauge wire for this as well, but I wouldn't recommend much thicker than a 24. So I'm going to begin by just stabilizing our wire. And let me try to zoom in a little bit for you guys. I can be really bad about like wandering off camera, so please bear with me. I'm going to hold our tail across the glue here on the back. Then bringing it around, it's almost like we're sewing it on. I'm going to do, I think, just 2 rotations. So there's 1 rotation around, and then I'm going to do a second one, stitching through, pulling our wire. Go slow and gently on this part because you don't want it to kink, because any kinks in your wire are going to translate into weak, brittle spots. So just pushing through the back, coming around. Okay, so now that we have that stabilized, I'm going to come through. What was I going to do this? Let me trim and get this tail out of the way. Sorry, I'm a little brain farty this morning, but because sometimes it's easier to just craft than it is to try to pick apart and be like, how did I do this? Okay, so we're bringing it around, and we're going to come through here on the other side. Because I'm treating each of these 3 points, well, this one I set a little low, but these little crosses, so that's a point, and that's a point. I'm treating them as I would during a fractal wrap, if you guys are familiar with that tutorial. So I'm just going to bring it through, and you can see I'm using my thumbnail to keep it from just going straight across. Just pushing it up just a little bit. You could build it up directly onto the edge of the cab. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that this time. And I've pulled, sorry, just knocking stuff off of my messy work surface. I've been in like a month-long crafting binge preparing for DragonCon at the time of recording, so it's just a mess over here. So pulling through, again trying to keep any little kinks from happening, using my fingernail to kind of straighten that out. And so now for this next one, I'm going to come through, and it can seem like a long jump across the, longer side of the oval, but again, just using my thumb to guide that down into its spot, and then coming up on the other side. So I'm on that side of the wire, so I'm coming in, beep boop, right there. Hush, puppy. Please pardon the dogs barking. Because I can tell they're like, oh, mom's recording. Let's bark at everything. So we've come out on that side, and I'm going to come in right here. And you can repeat this as many times as you like, but again, just using my thumbnail to encourage that wire to just sit next to the stone. And now I'm going to come up and through. So technically, we could leave this right there, just do 2 or 3 wraps around this wire, and we could stop there, but I want to do a second layer. So I'm just coming around, again using, oh, I threaded through the wrong hole, so not right there. Though you could, feel free to vary, like whatever variation of this you would like to try, do it, see how it comes out. The key I found is to just try to remain consistent. So we've wrapped around and being careful to stack the wires on top of each other. Again, just focusing on consistency. Okay, bringing that through. Trying real hard to not get any kinks. Pulling the wire. Coming through on this side now. The thumbnail comes in super handy. And I've found I'm less likely to kink if I bring it down and then thread through, as opposed to if I thread up and then try to thread through. But experiment with different things, see what works for you. Okay, coming around, and now through right there, we're back to where we began. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. If this were a larger stone, I would do 3 repetitions. Though, let's go ahead and do the 3rd just to see. You can always unwrap it if you don't like it. And this is just me making my pendant. You do your pendant however you like. You could use any gemstone that you like. You could make your own resin or dichroic glass or polymer clay stone to set into it. Pulling through. And again, by keeping the wire nice and tight, it's helping it to hold its position. And this wrapping style hails back to, I wish I could remember the name of the tutorial, but years ago on jewelrylessons.com, there was a tutorial that I'd seen that we did a wrap very similar to this one. Not onto a Celtic knot stone, but it was like a square ring, I think. I don't know. I try to give credit where it's due, and I'm inspired by so many other artists. But If anybody knows the name of that artist or if they have a website or something, because that ring tutorial helped me so much in my early wrapping years. There we go. And I think inspiration for this one definitely hails back to that tutorial from like 8 or 9 years ago. So holding it stiff, and then I'm going to go ahead and instead of binding off on this one right here, I'm going to bind off on this one. That way that one doesn't get too bulked up. So to do that, I'm just going to come through, thread through the center this time of that point. Bringing it around, and I'm going to do, that's one rotation. And then I'm going to do a second wrap. And feel free to use your pliers and stuff too if your fingers just don't fit in the way that you need them to. And then finishing it up. And you can see using the glue on this one, oh my gosh, made such a difference. And just not having to fight the cabochon to get it to, stay. It let me focus entirely on the wire wrapping. So I used to be like a bit of a purist, I guess, and I was like, no adhesives, wire wrapping only. And now I'm like, I'm going to glue it on first. So again, you're the artist in here. You do what makes you happy. There's no right or wrong way. It's art. I mean, as long as it looks the way you want it to and it holds together, then you did it right. Okay, so just smushing that tail down, making sure there's no little pokey bits. It's another goal with my wire wrapping is I want you to be able to wear this on like a spider web fine crocheted or knit top and not have anything snag. So there we go. And there is a nice little Celtic cabochon. Celtic, not cabochon, I don't know. So if y'all have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave those down below. If you enjoy my tutorials and would like to support the creation of more of them, please check me out on Patreon. Well, actually, I had purchased a great big bag of these cabochons and a great big bag of these triquetra charms. That way I can send them off to y'all as part of my monthly craft crates that I do over on Patreon. So be sure to check that out because I post stuff almost every day over there. You don't even have to be a pledger to see it, and it goes such a long way in helping to keep this channel going. And again, links to all my social media are down below, so you can tag me in your creations. It helps me to be able to see what you're up to. And I really appreciate y'all spending your time here with me today. So I do hope that this was helpful. And until next time, y'all, happy crafting. Bye.